Everyone. Welcome back to another My Wealth Journey episode. As you know, we have this series going. Everybody knows somebody that knows something about it. The old school way is everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that's something about it. So I am part of that somebody here at My Wealth Journey. And the other somebody today is Amber of Blessed Little Bungalow. She is going to be talking with us today on how you turn a side hustle into a full hustle and still look fabulous while doing it. Because I know y'all noticed it's not just the background, like the room is coordinated, obviously. But before we started recording, her twist out came ready to go. Mine, I had to like get it together. She's just showing up with like the smile, the energy, and everything. So let's get to it. You ready?
I am. You're so sweet. But yeah, listen, I took it out right before this, so we on the same page.
Right. No, I was like in the meeting, like, let me figure this out. She was giving me tips, y'all, because the pro wasn't doing what the pro was supposed to do. All right. So the first
Froing.
question. Oh, go ahead.
I said the fro wasn't froing.
Yes, right. The pro was not proing. She was not playing games. She's not playing along today. So the first question we always ask is, what is your wealth journey?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. I would say that the place I am in my journey right now is self-development. In the beginning, it was more like self-awareness. Graduating back from undergrad in 2008 and then going back to school in 2012 for my MBA. That period of 5, 6 years was very like, okay, let me get this 600 credit score up to 7. Maybe I can buy a house. And then eventually you do. And then eventually you make more than like my first job out of school, I was making $28,000 a year.
Ooh.
And yes.
Wait. And just to help set context, this was not like in the 1920s, y'all. Black don't crack, but this was like when 28,000 was not going to carry the same weight. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Yeah.
2008, working at a
Oh, the
newspaper, selling
recession.
advertising.
Yeah.
Yes. Got out of college right during the recession. I was grateful to be employed. I was grateful to like have a place to live. And at the time, I think my rent was like $700, which is like unheard of now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that felt expensive for 28,000 a year. And eventually moved to Atlanta and bought a townhouse. And somehow, by the
Yeah.
grace of God, at the time, like depleted savings, no savings really.
That's real.
Had like maybe a 660, 680 credit score,
That's
but
not
still,
terrible.
it's not. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then got an FHA loan on a $140,000 townhouse. So that was the point where I was like, okay, I'm going back to school. I finally am a first time home buyer, like 26. I'm somebody, I did this. And then you realize, like, looking back 10 years since then, I'm just like, wow, like, I have come a long way from that. Like, then, like, more recently, before going into entrepreneurship full time, making a healthy 6 figures, having a 800 plus credit score, like,
Oh yes.
a
All the
lot
wins.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing about investments, dabbling a little bit in that. So, at first it was a lot of self-awareness, as I mentioned. Like, I was a spender. I maxed out credit cards. I had all the credit cards. And to now it's like I'm self-sufficient, but I'm a lot more aware and a lot more ambitious about the journey. Sorry, my dog is just
No,
tapping.
I love it. So we have a special guest in the studio today.
He's just like, I took his collar off so he wouldn't be jingling during this. But anyway, yeah, it's just been a journey of self-realization and understanding, like, okay, what do I want for myself? What are the things I want to change in my family tree? What do I want to leave as a legacy, regardless of if I have children or a family or not? Do I want to pay off my mom's house? Because that's totally possible if I put X amount of actions in place. So there's been a lot of that, and I just turned 35 this year. So looking back at that
Happy
21 year
birthday.
old,
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And seeing how I've evolved, I still know that I have a ways to go.
Yeah, that actually reminds me of one of my favorite questions I like to ask people all the time. There's like a handful of questions. If I was a like a CNN commentator or something, there's a handful of questions that I like to ask people. So and it's I call it kind of letters to my younger self. What would you tell your younger self about anything when it comes to either finances, having cute little special guests and dogs who make appearances? And what's your dog's name?
It's Ralph. And it's funny,
Ralph.
I've had Ralph since 2008. So,
Wow.
well, he was born in 2008. I had him since 2009. So, yeah, he's 13. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
You know my
Well,
age.
yeah. Yeah, we pay respect to seniors. Ralph can hang. But yeah, so what would you tell yourself, your younger self, I think I got this together in my first home. If you're anything like me, you thought it meant something to like travel all the time and eat out. So that's still an area that I have to have discipline and not spending money in that area. Or at least only spending the money that I have set aside to spend. But yeah, what would you tell your younger self?
Very, very good question. I would say number one, like, when I see those graphs on Instagram that is like, if Julie started investing $100 a month
Yes.
at age 22, like that is so real. Like I wish I had started investing. I remember, I think I was putting like 2% of my pay in my 401k at my first
Hmm.
job.
Which
And
is
look,
better than nothing.
which is better than nothing. But looking back, it's like, I would say no matter how much money I made, like whether it was 20 grand a year or $200,000 a year, the habits are the same. So
Yes.
you can
Yes.
if you can start small and start early, if you can understand, again, going back to self awareness, like I'm a spender, I have no self discipline. If you can have those conversations with yourself as early as possible and seek out the help that works for you, because everything isn't for everybody. I've got friends that are like super savers, very frugal. Some people investing comes very easily to them, and then some people just, put $500 away every month, and or like it's on auto pay or whatever, and they never
Hmm.
see it because they know if they see it, then they're gonna do something with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So so really know yourself and start as early as possible, because all of the lessons I did not learn, all those growing pains, I would say, with not having self discipline, even though, yes, you make more money, yes, you have a higher credit score, yes, you know, are on a positive path, they will eventually catch up to you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's kind of what I'm going through right now
Yes.
as an entrepreneur.
Which is a great way to transition into knowing this entrepreneur lifestyle. So that's one of the things that people are concerned about. Like, am I really going to be able to sustain whatever lifestyle, even if it's not a fabulous, fancy, jet setting lifestyle? If it's just the basics, if I go out on my own, will this work? So let's get into Blessed Little Bungalow a little bit more. BLB. Tell everyone, how did you start this? What was your inspiration? And what were kind of some of these growing moments when you thought, okay, like this is really taking off. This is beyond just me being good at something, but this is something that people are paying me for.
Sure. So back in 2016, so in 2015, well, all right, in 2014,
Hmm.
I
Take us
finished my
back.
MBA.
Hmm.
I finished my MBA at the University of Georgia, and I started interviewing for new jobs, like big
Hmm.
girl jobs. Like I'm finally going to make six figures. I'm finally going to
Hmm.
be somebody, whatever. And so got that job, and that moved me to San Antonio, Texas. And
Hmm.
when I moved to San Antonio, I bought another house, sold my house that was in Atlanta, which looking back, I'm like, that would have been a good investment if
Okay,
you held
that real estate. Yes.
on. But another lesson learned. But I bought my first house. Well, I bought my second house, which was in San Antonio, and I decorated the entire thing in a week after
And
I
it was
closed.
beautiful.
Thank
Excuse
you.
me for interrupting, But I remember seeing that picture and thinking, wow, she can really do this. Someday I'll have a home, and maybe she can help me out with my home. That was
Thank
when I was
you.
still like with four roommates, trying to make things work. But yes, it was
Let's
beautiful. I want to say I remember there was like a room with the silhouette of a dog, and it was like yellow or something. I thought, wow, she really pulled that together. Okay.
Yes, I've always loved decorating. I've always been a creator.
Hmm.
I like growing up, I was the kid that liked to color and illustrate the pictures of the book and write the picture, like write the stories versus reading a book. Like I was always doing like whether it was arching eyebrows or painting clothes and selling them at school, like I was that kid. And
Yeah.
so then like that love for making my own bed and rearranging my own room, like all of those things I enjoyed in my childhood, it never went away. And it took my family and friends to like come visit me right after I decorated the house. Like that was January 2016 because I closed end of 2015. And they were just like, what, like you need to do this like for real. That was their quote, specifically, like you need to at least blog about this, but you're too talented
Hmm.
to keep this to yourself. Like when people, and that's one thing that I would also say to my younger self, like your God-given gifts will make room for you.
Oh,
You can
yes.
find them. You can say, I'm not doing that. I got this good job over here. Like like opportunities will chase you down. And I'm like
Hmm.
a firm believer and witness to that. And so that was their thing. They were like, don't allow this talent and this gift to just sit on the sidelines. Like you should at least do this as a blog. So I took like 3 months to build my brand. I hired a um, website developer,
Hmm.
someone to design my logo. I got on Squarespace, signed up for an account to claim the Blessed Little Bungalow domain, and had professional photos taken of myself and then also of my
Yeah.
home. Because if I don't have anything to show off, if I have no portfolio, I have my own house. So that's going to be the first out
Yes. Yes.
portfolio. Um, and I launched the website and company on April 4th, 2016. And so during that time, I was working full time in corporate, in banking and in insurance. Um, and I spent another 4 years in San Antonio, ended up going to San Francisco for about a year and a half, and then recently moved back to Atlanta. So during that time, I've been working in corporate, working in tech, but
Hmm.
doing BLB on the side as like a side hustle. And my original thought process around the money that I was making, because eventually people started paying me, and I was doing like mood boards and stuff for like $200 a room because I was like, I don't know how much this I should charge.
Right. Right.
And so those $200 turned to $500, and I had a little PayPal account, and every time the PayPal account hit like $5,000 or $10,000 threshold, I would just transfer that money to my checking account and pay off some debt. And
Oh,
so
yes.
at the time, I had about 89 to $90,000 in consumer debt, not including my house. So I had
Hmm.
student loans for my undergrad, which was about 40 grand. Luckily, I didn't have incur any debt from grad school because my old employer paid for my MBA.
That's good.
I had a car loan. I had personal loan, which was taken out to pay off credit card debt, and then I racked the credit card debt back up.
That's real.
And I had credit card debt. And so yeah, I just kept throwing that money at those bills, and then after 2 years, all of that debt was gone. And
Wow.
then I'm working in tech and never really having to um, think about the cash. I allowed that to save again. And then once I moved to Atlanta, um, sold some of my shares from my company in addition to some of my BLB profit, and paid off my car and some debt I incurred with my move into my new house. So The side hustle turned into like oh, well, I don't need to make as much with it to live comfortably as I do my current job, but here's an opportunity to seriously just step out on faith and try to do this thing for real full time, not just for real, but full time this time.
Mhm.
And so it really was like a leap of faith. And I felt like even though I didn't have like, they tell you to have like a year's worth of your expenses
Mhm.
saved and all of these things. I didn't have that. I had probably about 6 months, but I knew, okay, I have some more shares that I could sell if I need to. I have a house and I have no other debt. So if I could just pay my mortgage and be going back to the discipline thing and stop living like I still have like a grocery stipend from my old job, or I can, going on trips
Yeah.
and all that, like those things you can no longer live sporadically like you have that income. Like now, like every single cent you're going to see it because you're paying yourself and you know how much you're paying
Right.
yourself, or if you even can. And so anyway, that was the side hustle to full-time entrepreneurship path. So it took 5.5 years, which when I think about it, I kind of blink and it like flew by.
Yeah.
Um, and then I quit my full time job to take BLB full time in June. So it's been about 6 months. So I'm still kind of in the the middle of it, really. Like I'm learning every day. I'm learning a lot about myself.
Mhm.
Okay, sorry, he's like moaning in the
You're
back.
fine.
Um, and I also would say that people talk about imposter syndrome, and it definitely comes and goes because I didn't go to school for interior design, right? I went to school for marketing and business, but I do implement a lot of those learnings into what I do each day, into building relationships with my clients, into how I market myself, how I build content, like all of that comes easy. But I don't think I was prepared for like the identity crisis that I would experience being
Mhm.
plucked out of corporate and then into entrepreneurship and going back to like self discipline and trying to keep yourself
Yeah.
motivated and doing the hard things when you don't want to because you don't have to. You can sleep in and do whatever because you're on your own time. Like all of that has been oh man, it's been rough to be honest. It's been rough, but it's been invigorating and fulfilling all at once.
Yes, yes. So many gems you dropped there. The importance of having people around you who encourage you, even when you didn't see it in yourself. The
Mhm.
ability to say, I'm going to be disciplined. And the fact that you took time to understand your habits and your lifestyle and kind of the things that worked for you until you could get to the point where you could say, okay, I've paid off my debt. And so now, at a bare minimum, I can eat, I don't know, cheese sandwiches, but as long as I pay this mortgage, because the mortgage is your studio, the mortgage is your like the product. It shows, as we can all see, rooms immaculately appointed
Thank you.
and designed. So one of the things that people ask is, how do you know what to sell, and how to brand yourself? And it helps that you do have that MBA. And let's not act like UGA is not a great school, a
Thank
great university to attend. So that definitely gave you a leg up. But at the same time, there are so many things that can kind of set someone back, especially when it's unfortunate. But women and people of color are not always receiving funding and they're not always receiving support. So it really is a lot of grit and hustle. So what were some of the things that you experienced that you had to really like? There's two parts to this question. What was the process for you in determining what your products would be? Whether it was like that price point, like you said, you said okay, it'll be $200 for a mood board, and branding yourself, but then also recognizing like for those products and branding, what were you doing to try to get more support? Like, how were you putting yourself out there? Whether it was to get, I don't know if you maybe did a business loan, or if it was like I'm trying to get some new clients. And as much as our family members will support us and friends, sometimes they're also the ones that's like, this, can you just do this for me for the free? Like all of those things you kind of have to navigate. So what did that look like? Branding yourself, getting your business out there, getting credibility. What was that journey like for you?
Yeah. So number one, I would say, like, as far as what product I was selling, like I did a little research to see what they call e-design versus full service design. So full
Hmm.
service design, an interior designer will give you one invoice for all your furniture, for their services, for the contractor, for any and everything that's involved in the project.
Hmm.
Like, so that might be, I don't know, for high end, maybe like $100,000 or something. They'll
Hmm.
bill you for $100,000. Whereas with e-design, I am giving you everything you need in order to self-service this design project. So I am doing an interview and consultation, trying to understand what your needs are. I have a questionnaire that you complete before we even get on the phone to kind of tell me, like, how do you want this space to make you feel? What does your existing furniture
Mm.
look like? What do you wish to keep in the in the space that we're designing? What are the colors and patterns that you don't like, or materials? Like, some people don't want glass because they don't want their kids putting fingerprints all over the coffee table, or
Yeah.
they don't like chevron. You know, there's just little things that you won't know until you ask, or until you put it in front of them and they tell you they don't like it. Some folks might not like the color orange. I don't like orange, and you know why I'm saying.
Yes, yes, to the
It's not a
sexy
little big
ladies
in
of
there. No.
1908. Yes, yes, yes. You see, I wore the green. I was like, no, I will represent. It's also one of
Well,
my business
if
colors,
orange,
but
South Carolina versus Clemson,
yes.
that too. But yeah, like my room is pink. Some people don't like pink. They might like. I've had so many clients, especially nurseries. Like, yes, we're having a girl, but we don't want pink. We don't want it to be like the princess or whatever. So you ask all those questions to uncover all of those things, and then you start building the design. You develop, like, here's uh option A of what this space can look like with this sofa, coffee table, accent tables, artwork, paint color, etc. And you go through those ebbs and flows of uh, getting that feedback and making edits.
Hmm.
And then once finalized, I deliver a full shopping list of all of the items that you can purchase on your own. I can help you purchase them and offer trade discounts that are available to me as a designer to you, or you can purchase it on your own. And then whenever you're ready to do like the final install for me to, like, go to Home Goods and buy all the little knickknack stuff to kind of fill it out, and then we photograph the project. Or if you just want to do it over time on your own time, you have the shopping list and you're good, right? You can just prioritize those expenses as you wish. And so I like the e-design side. I'm less of a logistical operations person.
Hmm.
I like being able to be creative, but then pass it off to you, because at the end of the day, like, my target audience are people that don't necessarily have the money for a full service interior designer, or they just don't want to spend that level of money. Like, they have
Yeah.
an eye, like they want to pay for your eye, right? But they kind of know what looks good and what they want. They just need help executing it, developing and executing it. And that's, I feel like, the I feel like that's my talent. That's my, like, I don't have any desire to design Two Chain's house, right? Like, if he asks me, I'll think about it. But it's
You're like, what room? What exactly? Yeah. Okay.
I don't want to do like the $1 million mansions. I have never lived in a home more than 2,000 square feet, and that is my sweet spot. Like 1,500 square feet, like 1,500 square feet to maybe like 3 or 4,000 square feet. Like, everyday people make a decent living.
Hmm.
You might be able to afford that $10,000 sofa from that sectional from Crate and Barrel, but you don't necessarily want to spend that much. You want me to help you find those things
That's
that,
what you need.
yeah, that's going to be a deal. Or, mixing highs and lows. Like, anybody can walk into Restoration Hardware and buy exactly what they have on display, but being able to identify your wants and needs, your culture, your personality, and execute that in a way that is going to fit in your budget and not leave you with buyer's remorse. Like that is what makes me okay, Ralph. That is what makes me gets me excited, and I feel like that is what I've built my brand around. So my clients I've worked with, I position myself in e-design, and that allows me to work with clients across the country. So when I lived in Texas, I would say maybe only like 25% of my clients at the time were in San Antonio or in
Mhm.
Texas. Because I have Southern roots and I'm from South Carolina. I lived in Georgia. I had family in North Carolina. I had a ton of clients in Atlanta,
Yeah.
Charlotte, um, Raleigh, Columbia, Greenville, you name it. And then when I was in California, it was the same thing. I had some San Francisco clients, some in LA, one client family in Portland, which was easier for me to get to them on the West Coast, because they were closer to me. But I was still
Yeah.
serving clients from across the country and focusing on e-design and kind of like that. Um, I guess a hybrid between the two. It helped a lot, in regards to being able to assist all of those families and serve them, even just from the comfort of my home. If I never met them in person, I was
Yes.
still to assist them.
Yes. And it's quarantine pandemic proof. Like you can do this wherever you want to and need to be. So
Yeah,
the gems that I heard from that, the importance of developing your process, and I think that's something that when people are starting out on their own, they feel like they have to have it all together. Like I have to know exactly what I'm going to do, where I'm going to do it. I have to have the perfect brand and my color scheme and all of this for just a website. Like a color scheme does matter for your clients, but for your website, it's like you know what, get some colors up there that'll work. But
yeah,
being comfortable with saying we're going to build this process as we go. I'm going to do the research to see what's out there, and then I'm going to find my lane. And a lesson that I cannot drive home enough in any area of your life, knowing when to say no. Because there's as much shout out to Shonda Rhimes and the year of yes, and like yes, you should say yes, but it is so important to know when to say no. Like no, this
mhm,
isn't going to be the ideal client. No, this isn't the time to expand in this way because if you say yes to everything, one, you burn yourself out.
yeah,
Two, when there is something that you really do want to say yes to, something that just seems perfect, you have no capacity for it. And three, that is, I feel like it's how you set yourself up to be taken advantage of sometimes.
yeah,
Because when people see you as someone who will always say yes, they're kind of they don't see the exclusivity in you, the uniqueness in you, and so it's easy for them to just think you're too accessible. It's kind of like I recently watched. There's a documentary right now on Netflix, and I hate to admit I watched it, but I did. It's the story of Von Dutch. It's an intriguing.
I feel like I saw something about it, and I was
Yes,
like, "Ooh, I remember bondage. I remember wanting to kill for
yes,
one of the pets."
right. I want one of those trucker hats, and so and I love documentaries. It just they fascinate me. So the reason that I brought it up in this context is that Von Dutch started out as like an exclusive brand that was for celebrities. So you thought it was really cool because at the time, I guess like Whitney Houston and Paris Hilton were wearing it everywhere. And then they overflooded the market. They said yes to everything. So they were putting it on things that just didn't even need a Von Dutch on there. And the brand instantly lost value because it became associated with like, and there were a lot of knockoffs, which is part of the problem that comes up as well. And kind of moves us into our next question. So knockoffs, as in people doing claiming to be your brands and like needing to copyright, taxes and finances and needing to have someone do your accounting, marketing and scheduling and having a virtual assistant. These are all the things that can distract someone from doing their business, like doing what they're passionate about. But yet, if they don't do these things, it's easy to get Von Dutch in this situation. Like if you don't have or even if you do have a contract, but you don't have a license and everything, if you don't have that set up the right way, if you don't have someone protecting it, then again, it impacts your brand. So, how do you decide what you are going to do yourself what you're going to do as far as branding yourself as like, are you doing your taxes? Are you doing things on LegalZoom? Shout out to LegalZoom. Definitely use them. I was like, you said the lawyer costs how much? No, no, no. Let me see if LegalZoom can help me do this in 10 clicks or less for 50% of the price. But there are things when you really need to outsource it and times when you can do it yourself. So how do you make that decision and release yourself of like the burden and the guilt of trying to be a master of or jack of all trades and a master of none?
Oh my gosh. So I'm like, I am going through this now.
Mm-hmm.
So I could talk about this for an hour, um, or more. So when Blessed Bungalow was a side hustle, when I was in San Antonio, I had always done my own taxes
Mm-hmm.
before starting my business because I was like, I ain't paying nobody for this. It's just one
Right?
of
I can do this. Yeah.
yeah, it's nothing. It's nothing. And then I was like, okay, well, even if I did claim this $15,000 I made this year on BLB or whatever and added it in, like, I don't know the ins and outs of like tax breaks and things when it comes to side hustles and entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
So let me, at the time I was listening to Dave Ramsey like every day, and
Mm-hmm.
he'd always talk about his oh, what are they called? Like the people that are certified to be affiliated with him. Anyway,
Oh
there's like
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
yeah,
don't.
really.
Yeah, that he's special. But yeah, yes, yes.
So anyway, I reached out to one of the tax
Mm-hmm.
professionals in San Antonio that were like vetted out by Dave Ramsey,
Mm-hmm.
like, and the more so because I wanted somebody that wasn't just going to do my taxes. I wanted somebody to teach me and help me understand this is why we need to itemize this versus this, and this is, you know what I mean. Like I wanted somebody
Mm-hmm.
that I could learn with, and then also they were it was a woman of color.
Mm-hmm.
um, she seemed amazing. She had her own business. She had her own little family, and so I wanted to support another fellow, small
Mm-hmm.
business. Um, so I worked with her until this year, I guess. Yeah, for the 2020 taxes, and
Mm-hmm.
then once I relocated to Atlanta, I wanted to find someone local that I could like actually sit down with, and knowing
Yeah.
that I'm going to be full time, I'm going to have to start paying taxes quarterly, and I need a
Mm-hmm.
bookkeeper and all the things that I could do on QuickBooks and stuff on my own, but prefer to have someone else, another set of eyes, a more just because I have an MBA and I took accounting and all these things, like I understand it enough, but I want somebody else to like you do the balance
Right.
sheet and the profit and loss. I know enough to know if something's wrong and look at it and be like, can we check this again? And I can take pictures of my receipts and submit them, but I want somebody that will manage all of that and make sure it's right and make sure I'm in good hands, and not like, you know, LLC Twitter and whatever, like somebody that's like, oh no, we ain't going to jail. We're going to do this correctly.
Right.
I'm going
Right.
to give you the tough love. So I found an amazing CPA that's just like that. Another woman of color, has a business here in Atlanta, and she is phenomenal. She gives me the tough love I need. She is educating me each step of the way, and then just so you know, going from state to state, there's a lot of differences in what
Yes.
you do in one state versus the other. So she's been really helpful in giving me that knowledge. And then for QuickBooks, they have this thing called live bookkeeping. So I just
Mm-hmm.
pay them to outsource that because it's like it's something I can do, but I rather have somebody saying, "Hey, I need this. Can you do this, this, this?" versus me trying to manage it all, because that's
Yes.
time that I could be designing and doing something else.
Yes.
And then what else have I outsourced this year? I recently got a virtual assistant who's been
Yes.
amazing. Honestly, I probably pay her for like 10 hours a week at
Mm-hmm.
max, but it's just all the little things, like she's setting up my honey book because everything I've been doing up until this point has been manual. Like haven't even been using Calendly, hadn't been using had a template for a contract, 5 years, never used a contract with my clients.
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. Don't do that.
You're like, get some
Trust
type
me.
of coverage. But you were starting with what you had and working with what you had. And
Yeah,
as
and I
you
was
grow, you
like,
can do more.
yeah, and I was just like, oh, these people, they're going to pay me. Of course they will, because they're good people. Like, yes, 99% of them were good people and all paid me, but for that 1%, you need a contract in place to protect yourself.
Yes, yes.
And let's see what else you mentioned. So trademark. So yes, when I talked about getting my website and all that, I went ahead and did my LLC and all of that by myself and got my EIN number. Um, didn't go into any debt or had any business loans. I wanted to keep my business debt free. And so all the
Hmm.
money that I put in initially, which probably wasn't more than like $2,000 to get like all of those things designed,
Yeah.
pictures taken and stuff. So very low cost, but now I found myself investing more. So I have an attorney that um, has been filing my trademark for
Wonderful.
this little bungalow. Yeah, so nobody can just pop up with a show called Bless Little Bungalow and I'm not a part of it. Like
Okay. And you're like, I didn't bless that bungalow or that show. So what is this? Yes.
right.
Let me
It
send that
happens
cease and desist.
every day. And
Yeah.
so being able to outsource some of those things, sure, I could have filed it myself with the U.S.
Legal
Patent
too.
and Trademark Office, but it probably would have got denied, and then I would be paying all this money and application fees and stuff when I could just pay someone else to do it, and I know that it's more likely to get approved. So yeah, there's been a lot of outsourcing that I've been doing this year. I have some design assistants, but I'm not in a place yet where it's like I'm hiring people full time, like myself. There's going to be a point probably where I go from LLC to S corp for tax purposes. That's what a
Hmm.
lot of companies have done, but there's more work involved with that. There's definitely usually those individuals have employees, so I know that I'm going to continue to have to evolve and learn over time as my business grows. But those are some of the things that I've allowed myself to like just let go and let God. Like, you can't control everything, you can't do everything, because you will, like you said, burn yourself out. And in
Hmm.
the end, if you don't have enough, you can't fill from an empty cup. And so if you don't have enough energy, especially creative energy, like when you're tired,
Yeah.
it's a different kind of tired. Like, I can get up and send emails, but
Hmm.
if I don't have the creative energy to like put into my work, like I'm doing my business, my brand, my clients, everyone a disservice. So you really have to take care of yourself and allow yourself to give up some of those tasks and that work that bog you down.
Got it. Okay. And we'll start to wrap up. You're doing such a great job. I love the answers, the information. But I like to also be respectful of people's time. So,
No, you're not.
especially someone
It's
who's
just
got a business to run.
It's just
Um,
Ralph running in the background. He's just like, "Is this over yet?" Because I want to
oh,
go outside. See, there he is.
he's fine. Yeah, he's fine. So a question that people ask when it comes to starting a side hustle while working full time is how did you manage it with your job? With your full time job, did you let them know? Were they supportive? Were you just like secretly blocking rooms and going into meetings and like typing? And kind of like how people say, you're my friend at work, not in real life. So like, you will never
Yeah.
be my client. You don't even know that I have a business. Or was it the complete opposite? Like my employer, my coworkers follow my page. They're like, oh, but this is a recommendation we have for something you can do for your business and they're really supportive and
Mhm.
understanding. So there's such a spectrum of how involved you can have and be with your main business. Like neither the two shall mix, or they are like Kool-Aid, it's the sugar water and the Kool-Aid packs, like they're all together.
Sure.
What it works for you? What works for you?
So I've worked for three different companies since starting my business, and the first one was a very large company, like 40,000 employees, and they actually had a form that you have to fill out and submit to ethics and say, "I'm doing this. There is no conflict of interest. I'm doing this on my own time." Like, you fill out the form, sign it, it's approved by legal. Like, so I went through that. Secondly, I would say like I'm a very transparent person, so it
Mhm.
would be difficult for me, to be dishonest about doing something else on the side. Like I feel like I'm telling my coworkers about my nephews and niece. I'm like I'm
Yeah.
those people that keeps their lives so separate. Like you know me as a coworker, but you know anything about me personally, like I would be the one talking about it. If I'm
Mhm.
excited because I got something on apartment therapy, like y'all gonna know about it. Like so I didn't really keep it quiet or secret. So with each job, like I did what was necessary to submit it to say like this is what I'm doing to protect myself legally. Um, but then also if I did have like a phone call or something during the day, especially during, the last 2 years COVID time, like your calendar is your calendar. So instead of
Mhm.
taking lunch, if you need to take a meeting for something else, like that's your time. I think the main thing is to be respectful and know that, okay, I'm being paid for this job here. Like I need to show up and do the work and check the boxes. And at the end of the day, as long as I'm getting my work done, it shouldn't matter what I do outside of the company, as long as it's not like ethically wrong or something that's a conflict of interest. And I feel like in my last company in tech, like we talked about this before, the call, like how they actually want you to do other things. They're excited
Mhm. Yeah.
about it. And so that was amazing because like I remember when I was on apartment therapy, um, some of my friends in marketing that are on the partnerships team because they work with them saw it before I did. And they just sending all the Slack messages like, oh my God, y'all, did y'all see Amber on the homepage of apartment therapy? Like it was like they were excited. And I feel like same thing with your friends and family, like surround yourself with people that are going to support you. They don't necessarily have to be your client. A lot of times you don't want them to be your client, to be honest. Um,
That's
but like
real.
but surround yourself with people that are going to like push you because it's going to be so hard to just keep yourself motivated sometimes.
Yeah.
And it was I didn't have a negative experience at all with any, even upon my departure, when I decided like, hey guys, I'm actually going to do this full time. I love this company, I love what y'all stand for. But I told myself like, life is short and there's going to be a point where you're going to have to choose between your corporate gig and this brand you've built. And I chose my company. So my company, not them.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it was scary and it's exciting, but it was so fulfilling and did my heart good to see how many of my colleagues were so excited for me and proud of me when I did decide
Yes.
to step out.
Yes. Again, a lot of great topics that you shared there. And I'm like you. It's hard for me to keep it a secret. I'm like, hey y'all, guess what I'm doing? I'm spending time with my loved ones this weekend. But it's also the nature of my employer that it's hard to understand if you aren't used to it or if you're not in it. But we really get to know each other's lives. Like I spent Thanksgiving with my coworkers because I didn't have any family in the area I was in at the time. And I got to know their family, and their family was like, "Oh, if you're ever on this part of the world, come hang out with us." And so yeah, it's hard to think that if they're opening Thanksgiving dinner, family dinners, and all or Indigenous Peoples Day dinner with to me, um, that I would just say, and you don't need to know anything, and you will not have like any contact. Add me on LinkedIn. But I get it. I've also been in corporate places where that was the norm. It just feels
Yeah.
good when you can have a support system outside of family and friends. Because you're right, there are family and friends who are going to support you, hold you down, retweet, share your links, whatever else, and then they're the ones who are going to be like, "Now you got me right." Like I just
Right.
and or they're like,
Price
"So
is
you
the
oh,
price
excuse me."
is
Yes, yes. Or they're like, "Oh, so you still doing that little business? Don't come for me." Like, yes, I'm still doing that, and
little
it's
business.
quite successful. Yes, yes. Okay. So, the last question before we have a little fun at the end of this, although we've been having fun the whole time, in my opinion. So I always see you with the home goods post, and shout out because there is, I believe, it's an artist named Pink Lomaine, I think, and Oliver something. And they have these beautiful pictures of Black women. So my office, I'm not in my office right now. It's so you always see how like busy the background is in my office of artwork of a bunch of different Black women. But I always get their artwork. I love it. And but they only put out a few pieces each month. And so I saw one of your home good finds and I was like, oh, they have a new Oliver piece out. And I ran. I was not in the same part of the country as you. I ran to the closest TJ Maxx and like Home Goods and found it, and I was like, yes, yes, this is great. So one, they really need to start sponsoring you because you are out here moving units for them. But if Home Goods and TJ Maxx, or I think their company is TJ Maxx Holdings, if they don't sign that contract and book you, which let's manifest and go ahead and speak that into existence. So in
Yes,
addition to them doing that, hmm?
I have done something with TJ Maxx.
Oh,
I
good,
did a partnership with them. But yeah,
yeah,
TJX companies, it's Marshalls, Home
yes,
Goods, TJ
yes.
Maxx, Sense, and Sierra. Yeah, but Home Goods is my love language.
Yes. And I'm like, what home gets what side of town is she on? Because she's always I'm like, I go in there and I'm like, maybe I just don't have the eye for it. But I find myself stuck in the like pots and pans, candles, and soap section. And then I'm like, and the rest of this, I just it looks nice. I don't know what goes together. So in addition to then the partnership, the sponsorship you already have with TJ Maxx, what else is in the future for you? And this can be in the next 5 minutes, it can be in the next 5 years. Just speaking
Okay.
into existence all the great things that we know are coming for Blessed Little Bungalow. What do you want
Yeah.
your brand associated with?
Yes, manifestation.
Mm-hmm.
I would love. I've had a lot of people tell me, based on my background in marketing and my experience, used to work in TV on the advertising side, not in front of the camera. But I've had so many people tell me like, "Why don't you have a HGTV show yet? Like what?
Where's it
Like
at?
I
Because I would host a watch party in multiple cities in your support. Like, where is it
Oh,
at?
thank
I
you,
would be like,
thank
let's do this. I was sitting here like, if they don't book her, the
you.
OWN network will definitely pick her up. Someone's picking her up.
Listen,
Okay, so keep going.
I've loved Oprah since the day I saw her television show. So I'm all for the OWN network. I have a client that she's bi-coastal. She lives in LA and
Mm-hmm.
here in Atlanta, and she works for Netflix. And she's already said, "Girl, just say the word, and I'll try to get you in front of
Please,
whomever."
please.
They're all they're everyone's pretty supportive of TV, and I am definitely open to TV. But I think the main thing is like no matter what I do, regardless if it's a television show, a product line, if you're familiar with the Bungalow and Opal House, but like the Bungalow, Justina Blatantly,
Mm-hmm.
she has like a line in Target, like
Yeah,
things like that. I'm totally open to if it's a brand that I actually love, if they have like the same core values and like we have to be in alignment, right? And because I mean, the main thing for me is like just as I mentioned earlier about doing Two Chains house versus everyday person's house, like it has to be authentic to my brand. It has to be authentic to me. And so I am just praying and affirming that as my clientele grows and as I have more brand partnerships and sponsorships, like the right opportunity will present itself. I've already been in some conversations with
yeah,
casting companies and so on, but I want to make sure it's the right opportunity, because I think another thing, whether you're an influencer or just a small business owner, like all green money ain't for you, right? Every client
yeah,
is not going to be your client. Every opportunity is not going to be what's best for you in the long run. And I am very, more so than being authentic and feeling like it's in alignment, like I'm all about my peace and my mental health. And so if it's something that doesn't feel right or it's going to stress me out, know that those dollars aren't,
it's
it's
not
not worth
worth
it.
it. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
So whether next 5 minutes or next 5 years, like I just want to. I'm hoping and praying for abundance. Obviously, I quit a great job to do this full time. I want it to be profitable. I want it to flourish. But I also want to make sure that I'm growing. I'm growing and going down the path that's right for me. Versus just blowing up, because I mean anybody can have their 5 minutes of fame and go viral and all of these things. But I really just want it to be a good fit. And just like with any client I start working with
Right.
day of the week, like I want it to feel right. And Yeah, who knows? Might be hanging out with the Property Brothers this time next year. We'll
Look,
see.
I want you to understand it's not about clout, but the way I would repost this and be like, ah, like I would be like, but look, we can joke about
You know,
this. Like it's not like I'm trying to ride the coattails as much as I'm just like, oh, I saw it coming. I knew it was gonna happen. In my mind, it's already happened. We're just waiting for you to tell us the day to have these watch parties and to go to TJ Maxx, Target, wherever else, and pick up the BLB collection. I'm
yeah,
like, okay, at that point, I think I could get. I have some mentees. They'll be getting their first home. I could get it for like, like I'm already looking ahead at this. It's going to happen. So
yeah,
yes, we
yeah.
support all of that,
And
and
it
we see
wasn't
it coming.
right. It was like it took 6 years to get here.
Right,
And that's
right.
still a very short time compared to other people. And I think another thing is like realizing that, anybody can copy what you do or try to, like anybody can try to put out the same product, but it's like a lot of times it's you are the part that can't be duplicated. And I feel like the people that succeed in life or have like received whatever, it's because of them as an individual, or like they've prepared themselves for this moment that finally arrived. And there's just so many stories of that, like Vera Wang, like people that just didn't,
Hmm.
like, you feel like, oh, I'm 30 years old and I don't know what I want to do with my life yet. Like, no, you just got to have the faith and keep on working and pushing, and know that what's meant for you will not pass you by. Like, as I started with this call, like opportunities have legit chased me down, and I've seen it for other people as well. So yeah,
Yes,
that's it's
that
gonna happen.
it is. It is. I'm happy to hear that. I'm glad you're not saying like, oh, I don't think I'm going to do anything else, and this is it. No, I'm glad you see the potential, the capabilities, just the natural skill, and your great personality that the rest of the world needs to know about. But like you said, knowing what is for you and what's not. Okay, to wrap it up, we're going to have a little bit more fun. This is going to be rapid questions, so don't
Okay.
overthink it. It's just what comes to mind. And you can say
Okay.
pass if you're like, this is too much. I don't, I don't know. This is, I don't
Okay.
know.
All right.
But let's get started. Okay, who inspires you?
My mom.
Why?
I mean, she's gone through a lot in life, and raising two daughters, them both, like, she was a social worker, so she
Hmm.
also made like probably $20,000 to $30,000 like my entire life, my entire childhood. So raising two daughters, post divorce, and like us never needing anything,
Hmm.
ends up both being college graduates. Like, she's everything I do is for her.
That is so sweet. If you don't go back and run this to her on Mother's Day and just be like, I gave you the plug, Mama. Don't forget. Are
Listen,
you a
that
morning or
house
night
will
person?
be that house will be
Oh,
paid
go
off.
ahead.
I was just gonna say her house will be paid off at some point.
Ooh, is that not the dream? I was like, yeah, we all, I don't know, we could do so many things in life, but Black people always want to pay off their mom's house. Like that's how we know we made it. We're
Yeah.
like, I paid that, and I can pay all my bills on auto pay. That's a sign that we made it. Are you a morning or a night person?
I'm a night person. I am not a morning person, but I will say I should probably try to become a morning person at some point. I thought eventually all adults turn into morning people. It's
No,
not true. Maybe kids help you make you turn into morning.
I
I'm
guess.
not
But even when I'm a morning person, I still need a. Oh, you're good. It wasn't getting that dim, but
Okay, it
even
was
as
stuffed in my side, so I was like, let me turn this light on.
no, you're fine. Even as a morning person, I'm still like a midday nap person, and I'm a night person. But if I get up early, I need that recharge.
Yeah,
Okay. Dream
$6.
vacation. Is it beach? Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was gonna say it's like 6 o'clock over here, I think, but I am gonna get some coffee soon.
Okay, and get ready for that evening set. Dream vacation. Is it beach or the mountains, like ski cabins, hiking, things like that, or in the
Beach,
city?
beach all day.
Okay. Okay. What is your favorite meal?
The first thing that came to mind was Frosted Flakes. So
There's nothing wrong with that. That might be what you're craving right now, and there's nothing
I
wrong with
think
that.
it is Frosted Flakes, and then like I mean I'm from the South, so a plate with rice, collard greens, mac and cheese, like turkey wing. That's my jam.
A good hearty meal that will work. What do you do to relax, to unwind?
I drink wine and get massages. So I actually have a
Oh, that
massage
sounds
schedule
nice.
tomorrow that I'm very excited about.
That sounds like something I need to do. The wine part I can handle tonight. I need to schedule a massage at some point. Okay, and what is one piece of advice that you would share with the audience about starting your own business, living your best life, or whatever else?
I would just say to be true to yourself, to look at who you are. Every experience in your life has brought you to this moment. Um, like give yourself grace because you're not going to know it all and you're going to continue to learn. You're going to make mistakes. You might quote unquote fail. Like, well, I mean, you're not going to fail because there's no such thing as failure, right?
Hmm.
Like for me, is like I quit my job because I wanted to do this full time. I spent 5 years building this business and I wanted to take it to the next level. I didn't feel like I could if I stayed in my corporate career. And people are like, oh, well, if it doesn't, you can always go back. And I'm like, there is no doesn't work out and going
Yes,
back.
we
Like you're
we move forward.
yeah, you're just gonna pivot or you're gonna like decide because I don't want to decorate people's houses for the next 30 years, right? Like I'm doing this now and maybe it'll turn into a brand opportunity or a TV show, or I might start flipping houses on my own and selling them and
Yes,
investment properties. Like I don't know what's next, but I know that in the moment I believe that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. I'm doing
oh,
exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. And you have to have, as scary as it is, as risk averse as you may be, like you have to believe that what's for you is not going to miss you, and that you have to be who you are in order to achieve what's right for you. Not what you see on Instagram, not what your friends doing, not what went viral last week, but you have to be authentically yourself. And so I feel like that's what's gotten me to this place. And that's the best advice I could give to someone else starting their own business or side hustle or just trying something new, is just to stay true to yourself.
perfect. I love it. And for everyone who is ready to get their home, get their mood board, e-design, or they just want to show their support, where are all the ways that they can find you? What are the platforms that you are on?
Yes, thank you. So Blessed Little Bungalow, Blessed Little Little Bungalow Bungalow.com. All one word, Blessed Little Bungalow on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, if you're interested in working with me, collaborating with me, or having me help you with your home, there's a contact page on my website. Feel free to fill out that form and I'll be in touch.
I love it. We have again wrapping this up another segment of everybody knows somebody that knows somebody that knows something about it. And today we have been learning about turning your side hustle into a main hustle with Amber of Blessed Little Bungalow. Thank you so much for joining the My Wealth Journey community today. We look forward to supporting you and seeing how you continue to grow. And like I said, picking up some of these products when you are inevitably on TV, and have a line coming out in whatever local national store is around.
Thank you so much, Jay. It's been an honor to sit here and chat with you, and thank you for allowing me to share my own journey.
Thank you.